At times like this, routine is of course important, certainly to me. And on the day today, we have Ed's crisscross intervals, all below FTP, which is a very good thing, because following those 21 down to ones on the single leg split squats, my legs are still aching. The delayed onset muscle soreness has been exquisite. A slightly slicker presentation of a home workout than my own. Anyway, now for a big trial, descending the stairs. Not the easiest when your abductors are still hurting, but mission accomplished. Actually, it is quite hard even to swing the leg over the bike. There's sort of a little bit of delayed onset muscle soreness here in the abductors, but I'm sure I'm going to be able to ride myself into it. And as I noted, today is a reasonably easy session that's going to help the legs recover and get plenty of blood flowing through the muscles, because it's Ed Laverack's crisscross intervals, where basically I'm at around about 85% of FTP for 10-minute blocks, but every 2 minutes I have an added burst of power to bring me to about 95 to 99% of FTP, and there's only a minute rest between each of the 4 10-minute blocks. I'll report back. About 40 seconds to go in the final block of 2 minutes, the fourth block of 10-minute blocks. I've been averaging 255 to 270 watts in the 2-minute blocks, and over 300, just about 300 in the 30-second sprints. Now, Ed Laverack had prescribed a 1 minute rest of recovery between the first block of 10 minutes and the second block of 10 minutes, 4 minutes between the second and third block of 10 minutes, and another minute between the third and fourth. I'm pressed for time. I've got a lot of work calls, so I've ignored the rest. Here we go. Final 30 seconds. So obviously this feels good. I can certainly feel the DOMs in the quads, but because this is being sub-threshold, it's been very doable, as you can tell. I'm hoping this will help with the recovery of the legs. There's the final block of 10 minutes, 4 blocks of 10 completed, into warm down. And because this was a sub-threshold workout, it was an excellent opportunity to once again try and practice my pedaling technique on WattBike's hub. Aiming for a nice circular pedaling stroke, pushing down and pulling back, and even distribution of power. Now, as you'll have seen on the data from WattBike Hub, my left-right balance was a little out of kilter, 51% on the left, 49% on the right, but I think I'll also find that the right leg had a better circular motion than the left leg. We'll see. And WattBike Hub then loads up all of your data into your own personal repository, so you can see how your power, heart rate, and RPM evolved over the course of the workout or different laps, but also you can see how your pedaling technique, i.e. the left-right balance, and how circular the pedaling motion evolved over time by looking at the sausage. And when we go up to this section here, you can see a summary of the pedaling technique with a PES score here of 0.66. Now I'm aiming for 0.7 to 0.75, because that would indicate on both legs a nice even push down and pull back on the pedal for a circular motion. But what you can also see is that the left is only 0.63 while the right is 0.7. So clearly the left is a little bit less efficient as the power comes up than the right, because normally I'll be kind of in the kind of 0.68 to 0.7 range at lower power, i.e. zone 2 power. And that's also borne out by the left-right balance, although this time the left is a little bit stronger than the right, with 51% of the effort versus 49% of the right. So clearly there's a lot I can do here with WattBike Hub, really just to hone the efficiency of the pedal stroke and therefore improve my ability to deploy power and have better endurance when I eventually get back outdoors. Well, welcome to a beautiful but indoors Saturday morning. And I got a report that my legs are still feeling a tiny bit sore following those 21s down to 1s on the split squats earlier on in the week. So I'm going to film a different all-body strength training session next week that hopefully will leave the legs feeling a little bit less fatigued and won't compromise the bike training so much. Anyway, on the deck this morning is some upper body strength training, all body weight of course, followed by a bit of zone 2 on the bike in order to get the blood circulating through the legs and me ready to race tomorrow on Zwift. But first, oh dear, not sure why that's not working. I'm hoping I'll be able to get it to reboot. But first, time for some water, old school style. And of course, I'm going to pair that with amino acids and cold coffee, my favourite. Well, that spaceship there is called Slave One, and it's Boba Fett's personal vessel in Star Wars, and it's my son's favourite of all, because as everybody knows, Boba Fett is the #1 bounty hunter in Star Wars. And of course, all the toys that you see here in the pain cave are my son's. He's now 16, so he's too old really to play with these. Well, he doesn't play with these, but I personally love them all, and that's why they keep hanging around here in the pain cave. I just can't let myself get rid of them. Anyway, I digress a little bit. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to do something slightly unusual with the channel, because I've got about 1 month's worth of historic footage covering indoor training, outdoor racing, but also some gym work. And I'm going to continue to get these videos produced and released over the coming weeks. So if you see me in the gym, or if you see me outside or outdoors racing, you'll know that came before the period of social distancing that we're now involved in. But in addition to those usual videos, what I'm also going to do is film some much more real-time vlogs showing what we're getting up to indoors in terms of on-bike training, much more kind of body weight exercises, and also the general routine and eating and that kind of thing to hopefully maintain, stroke even build a little bit more fitness for when life returns to normal. And before I start the workout, check out these stats. Just under 15,500 people Zwifting. This time of year and this weather, that's definitely a sign of the times. But also, it includes one Mr. Eric Min, the founder of Zwift. Right on, Eric, and thanks ever so much for this platform. So today's bodyweight training session is going to focus on building some explosive power and hopefully some strength. And also fatiguing the muscles a lot less than the 21s down to 1s did earlier on in the week. So I'm going to start with the upper body movements, the push-up. Now, some people may be able to do push-ups really well, others may only just be starting out. And if you're just starting out, here is the way that I propose to do them. Starting on your knees, hands about shoulder width apart, whatever feels comfortable. Try and get to a place where ultimately you're going to be pectoral muscles over the palms. Palms planted firmly on the mat or the floor, and try and push them together almost. The palms aren't moving, but if you're pushing them together, that's really going to emphasize the mind-muscle connection. Then, with arms and elbows about 45-degree angle to the torso, we slowly lower ourselves down, and we pause for a count of 2, 1, 2, and we explode upwards as hard as we can. And we pause for a count of 2 and explode upwards for a count as hard as we can. The point about going down slowly and having a pause at the very bottom of the movement is it takes all the momentum out of the movement, all the kinetic energy out of the movement. And that means you have to explode really powerfully in order to initiate the concentric, i.e. the upward part of the movement. And that's what develops the explosive power. And of course you can have the same variant, but up on your toes, where obviously you've got more weight to push upwards. Nice and slow down, count of 2 and push up. Nice and slow down and push up. And for those of you that have mastered the press up, here's a variant that really makes the movement as hard as it possibly can be. It's called the clap press up. And again, excellent for developing explosive power, as follows. As before, 2 seconds at the bottom. And you can see here, by taking all of the movement and kinetic energy out at the bottom and exploding up to height where you can actually clap, that's obviously going to create plenty of explosive energy. So then we're going to select whichever of those press up movements suits our capabilities, and we're going to do 3 sets of 5 to 10 reps. The point being that we're going to cut short each set as soon as the rep speed slows, because the point is to create explosive power. So if your rep speed slows at rep 6, do not do a 7th, as follows. See, gives you a good cardio workout. You're working very, very hard to develop the explosive power. And as you saw there, on the 6th rep, the speed slowed considerably. So that's where I cut the set short. And going on to do 2 more sets with 1 minute's rest between sets. And Jane has just mentioned to me that there are in-betweeners out there. She's one of them. So if you find the on your knees press up's a little bit too easy, but you're not quite ready to go to the full press up, i.e. palms on the floor and on your toes, here is the intermediate stage where you raise your palms up off the floor. I'm using a box here, but use whatever else comes to hand. And once again, you initiate the movements, but on your toes this time, pushing those palms hard into the box and trying to kind of squeeze them together. Down for a count of 2 and explode up. Down for a count of 2 and explode up. And the reason it makes it a little bit easier is you haven't got quite as much weight on the upper torso by virtue of the incline. Han Solo and Chewbacca have kindly agreed to move the Millennium Falcon to allow me to demonstrate the next movement that's focusing on the tricep muscles, which of course is complementary to the explosive press ups. And once again, our effort here is going to be explosive power, but really emphasizing the mind-muscle connection to make the tricep work really hard. So, with our palm like that on the chair, on both sides, tucked in quite close, and selecting an angle on our heels that allows our torso to stay quite close to the back of the couch here, like that, we keep our elbows nice and tight to the torso as we descend as follows. See here, nice and tight on the elbows. I'm not letting them splay out like that. They're nice and tight. Pause at the bottom, 1, 2, and explode upwards by really squeezing that tricep muscle hard. Thus, 1. And slowly down, pause at the bottom, squeeze that tricep. Keeping the core nice and tight. And obviously the lower you go, the harder you make the movement. So if you're a newbie to this kind of a movement, and it really will make the triceps work very hard, you can shorten the range of motion just to make it that little bit easier, like that. And once again, emphasis on building explosive power. So as soon as the rep speed slows, cut the set short. And I reckon 3 sets of probably 8 to 12 is going to be more than sufficient, with about, again, a minute's rest between sets. And now for the plank. Focus on building core strength, which is obviously integral to producing even power through the pedals and the crank. So, on our knees, elbows nice and tucked in, just under shoulder width apart, up on the toes, taking a lot of air into the torso here, really tensing the abs. And trying to keep a nice straight back. Hopefully my back is straight, looking straight forward and on those elbows. Really focusing the whole time on drawing air into the chest cavity and torso and tensing the abs. Trying to squeeze those abs upwards, squeezing the glutes, trying to maintain a very rigid torso, minimizing the movement and the wobble. And the objective of the plank is to build core strength through holding this rigid position as long as you can. We'll keep the camera rolling to see how long I go for. But at the end, you'll see I'm kind of shaking a little bit. You can see here, got the shakes. Yep, they were tough. Probably just under 3 minutes there. But really, you can feel the whole body having to work really hard to stabilise the torso. And you can set yourself a little goal of an extra 10 or 15 seconds each time you practice that. And then there's loads of variants of the plank that we can build up to. Well, I'm just watching my coach, Ed Laverack, undertake his own training session. It's basically the Happy Mountain Goat climbing race, comprising 2 ascents of the epic KOM, one including the radio tower and one including the much nastier reverse ascent. And it's just a training session for Ed, a little bit of TS. I myself have jumped on AJ Balco's coaching session, which is about 2.5 hours in duration, and it's predominantly zone 1 and 2 with a little bit of 4. So it's going to really help get blood and nutrients into the legs, help with the recovery, ready for tomorrow's race, which is also on the Harrogate UCI course, so it's a useful recce as well. Just coming to the end of this group ride. It's been really good. AJ Balco has a lovely crew, mainly triathletes and Ironmen. Here we go. 20-second sprint. Yep, I got the heart rate up. Don't worry, the rest of it's all been zone 2, bit of 3 and some 1. Nice, really enjoyed it. The critical power analysis tells me my sprint maxed out at 7:59. That's not too bad at the end of a 2.5 hour ride, so happy with that. Relief. It's rebooted. I think just to conclude, I want to say that I really enjoyed riding with all the triathletes and Ironmen and women in the AJ Balco group ride. At a time like this, when we're social distancing, it meant a lot to be able to be part of a wider community. So definitely recommend getting on some of the Zwift's sort of longer, more endurance orientated social rides and taking part in the chat, or not, just enjoying the time with other people, even if virtually. So on the deck for the post-ride recovery is the usual stuff. The whey protein to repair muscle damage with the hippie milk, mixing it in with the blueberries to provide the vitamin C to calm the body down and get rid of all of that cortisol and adrenaline, and of course bagels, PB&J. But as I've alluded to in the past, what I've also added into the post-workout regime is a greens drink to give extra vitamins, minerals and general goodness, again to help the post-ride recovery. This one's from Phil Richards, it's called Ultimate Greens. It tastes pretty good, you just mix it up with the water. And that's the first part of the post-ride recovery. You made quite a nice mess here as well. Anyway, more to come.